الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. أردت أن أنبه على أمر لأنه قد تكرر أكثر من مرة. لا ينبغي الكلام في أثناء الأذان ولا أثناء الإقامة ولا أثناء الصلاة ولا أثناء الدرس، والله لا ينبغي، وهذا يتكرر دائما، فلازم نتأدب في المسجد. So today's dars is a little bit lighthearted, inshallah, very lighthearted. We always, take it seriously and we take some Quran or some Sunnah. But today I took some qara'if and some stories from a book called الأحمق والمغفلين. Basically, the stories of those that are, idiots, foolish, stupid. Let me see what other words I can think of: incoherent, incompetent. People that are half-witted. So that is what we're going to talk about today. Ali ibn Abi Talib, he says that روحوا القلوب واطلبوا لها طرف الحكمة فإنها تبل كما تمل الأبدان. So just as our bodies can get tired, our hearts and our minds can also get tired. So sometimes to ease yourself, sometimes you should not take it too seriously and you should have some fun as well. So today is just going to be some nice, fun stories. They say about hamaqa, I'm going to translate it as either stupidity or foolishness. They say لكل داء دواء يستطب به إلا الحماقة أعيت من يداويها. That every single sickness has a cure that you can cure with except stupidity. There is nothing that can cure stupidity. And there's a saying that's related by Ibn Hisham. He says إذا بلغك أن غنيا افتقر فصدق. He said, if you hear about a man that was rich that fell into poverty, then believe it. وَإِذَا بَلَغَكَ أَنَّ فَقِيرًا اسْتَغْنَى فَصَدِّقْ. And if you hear about a person that was in poverty that became rich all of a sudden, then believe it. وَإِذَا بَلَغَكَ أَنَّ حَيًّا مَاتْ فَصَدِّقْ. And if you believe that a person that was alive, passed away, believe it. وَإِذَا بَلَغَكَ أَنَّ أَحْمَقْ اسْتَفَادَ عَقْلًا فَلَا تُصَدِّقْ. And if you hear, and if it reaches you that a person who was an idiot and a fool that was known in society, all of a sudden became a person, who was intellect, and he stopped being an idiot, then don't believe it. Don't believe it, because there is no cure for stupidity. So I'm going to mention a few stories that I found were very, very funny. One time, Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, rahimahullah, he fell into sickness. And a person came to visit him, and when he came to visit him, he asked him, he says, مَا عِلَّتُ? He says, what happened to you? And then he says, عِلَّتِي كَذَا وَكَذَا, this is my sickness. I have this issue. And then this ahmaq that visited him, he said, with that same sickness that you have, this person died, this person died, this person died. And then Umar ibn Abdul Aziz responded to him. He said, إِذَا عُدْتَ الْمَرْضَى فلا تنع إليهم الموتى وإذا خرجت عنا فلا تعد إلينا. He tells him that when you visit the sick people, do not start telling them about those that have passed away and died. And when you leave from my quarters and when you leave from my presence, don't come back here. إذا خرجت عنا فلا تعد إلينا. And there's a few stories about Juhha that are usually very funny. These are all stories that are mentioned, not all of them, some of them are mentioned in أخبار الحمقى والمغفلين by Ibn al-Jawzi. If you want to go into detail, one time Juhha, he looked at himself in the mirror and he said to himself, looking in the mirror, he said, Allahumma bayyid wujuhana yawma tabyad wujuh wa sawwid wujuhana yawma taswad wujuh. He said he didn't understand, he didn't understand the ayah, he didn't understand how to make dua, so he said that. And one time, the same Juhha, he went to the desert. These are just funny stories. Whether they're completely authentic, we don't know, but I'm sure you've come across people that are just as foolish. One time he went and he buried some of his wealth in the Sahara, in the desert. And then he kept as a sign for it so that he could remember a cloud that was giving it shade. And another time his father had passed away. And they told him, go and get a coffin. So the burial shroud that you put him in, go and get it. And then he says, I'm scared that if I go and come back, I'll miss the Salatul Janaza. You cannot pray Salatul Janaza if the burial has not been prepared for. And another time, one time he was in the company of someone, and someone said next to him, he said, Subhanallah, ma ahsan, ma ajmal al-qamar. Look how beautiful the moon is. He said, Ee wallah, khasatan fil layl. He said, oh, look at how beautiful the moon is. And then he responded, he said, Subhanallah, you're right, especially in the nighttime is beautiful. And so that is a few of the stories that I wanted to mention, but there are some signs that we should know of. The reason why it's important to know is that so we can stay away from it. Not just stay away from it, but stay away from the people that might be having some of these sifat. They say, قال بعض الحكماء يعرف الأحمق بست خصال. They are known by 6 things. الغضب من غير شيء. They get angry over nothing. They get angry over the smallest things. They get angry over nothing. If you see someone getting angry over nothing, you mean he's a fool. He doesn't know what to give qima, what not to give qima. والإعطاء في غير حق. And that he gives to people that do not deserve to be given to. For example, وَالْكَلَامُ مِنْ غَيْرِ مَنْفَعَةٍ. He speaks without no benefit. When he talks, he's just like talking. Huh? No sense. He just talks for the sake of talking. Some people, they just like to talk because they just want to hear themselves. Nothing is coming out, no fa'idah. وَالثِّقَةُ بِكُلِّ أَحَدٍ. And another thing is that they trust everyone they come across. You shouldn't trust everyone you come across. You don't know if the person you're talking to is trying to scam you. You don't know anybody. You really don't know until you have a long relationship with them. وَالثِّقَةُ بِكُلِّ أَحَدٍ is a sign of stupidity. وَإِفْشَاءُ السِّرِّ. And that you spread people's secrets. That's also a sign of stupidity. وَأَنْ لَا يُفَرِّقْ بَيْنَ عَدُوِّهِ وَصَدِيقِهِ. And he cannot tell the difference between someone who is his friend and someone who is his enemy. That's a sign of foolishness and stupidity. And وَيَتَكَلَّمُ كُلُّ مَا يَخْطَرُ عَلَى قَلْبِهِ وَيَتَوَهَّمُ أَنَّهُ أَعْقَلُ النَّاسِ. And the last 2 is that anything that comes across his head or his mind, he just says it. Some people, they have no filter. Anything that comes across their mind, they just say it. But there are things that should not be said. Allah does not hold us accountable for what we have inside, but as soon as we speak it, khalas, you get held accountable for it. So you should not speak everything that comes to your mind. And then, وَيَتَوَهَّمُ أَنَّهُ أَعْقَلُ النَّاسِ. And he assumes that he's the most knowledgeable of people. That's a sign of stupidity and foolishness. And there's another maqula, I'll say, تُعْرَفُ حَمَاقَةُ الرَّجُلِ فِي 3. في كلامه فيما لا يعنيه وجوابه عما لا يسأل عنه وتهوره في الأمور. When he speaks in things that do not concern him, when he answers when he is not asked. Imagine there's a majlis and someone is asked, the sheikh is asked, and then he says, I think this, that. Nobody asked you. So you should not answer when people do not ask you. وجوابه فيما لا يسأل عنه and وتهوره في الأمور. And that he makes everything so light. His whole life, he does not take it seriously. That's a sign of stupidity and foolishness. And there's a qawl by Al-Khalil ibn Ahmad al-Farahidi. He says, الرجال أربعة. He says, رجل يدري ويدري أنه يدري. A man who knows, he has knowledge, and he knows that he knows. فذلك عالم فاتبعوه واسألوه. That he is a person who knows, and he knows that he knows. He is a scholar, so ask him and take knowledge from him. وَرَجُلٌ يَدْرِي وَلَا يَدْرِي أَنَّهُ يَدْرِي. And a man who knows, he has knowledge, but he does not know he is someone of knowledge. فَذَلِكَ غَافِلٌ فَنَبِّهُ. And that is someone who is unaware. So make him aware that he is someone of knowledge. This is usually people, what is that disorder? Not disorder, but where you think you are, subhanAllah, where you assume that you are not qualified, but you are qualified. There's an actual term for it. It happens to everyone in many fields, where they are qualified, but they believe and they feel they are not qualified because they yet need some more experience. وَرَجُلٌ لَا يَدْرِي وَيَدْرِي أَنَّهُ لَا يَدْرِي. A person who does not know and he knows that he does not know. فَذَلِكَ جَاهِلٌ فَعَلِّمُوهُ. This is someone who does not have knowledge, so teach him. And the last category, وَرَجُلٌ لَا يَدْرِي وَلَا يَدْرِي أَنَّهُ لَا يَدْرِي. A person who does not know and he does not know that he does not know. فَذَلِكَ أَحْمَقٌ فَاجْتَنِبُوهُ. And that is this stupid person. You stay away from him as much as you can, right? So the last thing I want to speak about is the مُصَاحَبَةُ الْأَحْمَقِ. Company of a foolish and idiot person. They say, يروى عن أبي زياد أن أباه نصحه. Ibn Abi Ziyad, his father gave him nasiha. He said, يا بني إلزم أهل العقل وجالسهم واجتنب الحمقاء فإني ما جالست أحمق فقلت إلا وجدت النقص في عقلي. He said there was not a single, he told him to stay in the company of those people of intellect, stay with the scholars, and keep their company. And he said to him that I have never ever sat with a person that was an idiot or foolish, or whatever term you want to give them, except that when I left, I found that some of my own intellect was, died with their presence, because they have an impact on you, they have an effect on you. And the last thing I'll end with is صديق الأحمق أشد ضررا من عدو حازم. That a friend that you have that is an idiot is worse than having a clear-cut enemy, because his adrar, you feel that he's benefiting you, but really he's impacting you in a terrible and horrible way. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not to make us from those people that have the characteristics of ta, and do not give us the company of those people as well. وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.